Jean Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, apparently had a very nice relationship with Judge Kaplan in the Southern District of New York. They worked together as colleagues back in the mid-90s. This is according to a report from the New York Post and elsewhere. Roberta Kaplan's attorney representative even responded confirming this. And so we're going to see what E. Jean Carroll has to say on the heels of her $83 million verdict, which is going to be appealed, and on one basis, in fact, a conflict of interest between E. Jean Carroll and her lawyer and Judge Kaplan. So this is the story over from the New York Post, and here is what they tell us: that Trump's lawyers, Alina and others, are going to use this conflict of interest to appeal this because there's a very serious conflict that exists, saying that there was a previously unknown conflict of interest between Roberta Kaplan, which is E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, and Judge Kaplan, where we had the $83 million verdict. Alina said she was unaware that Lewis Kaplan and Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, actually worked together in the early 1990s. They were at the same powerhouse white shoe law firm, and then she learned about this on Saturday when the Post, a columnist called Charles Gasparino, who was told by a source that the judge was once Roberta Kaplan's mentor. Amazing. They have the same last name, but apparently they're not related. But he was her mentor, according to this source. Now, it was never disclosed, Abba said. It's insane and so incestuous, insisting that neither the 79-year-old judge nor Roberta, who aren't related, disclosed the conflict of interest. She says that's a judicial ethics problem in New York. Roberta Kaplan, E. Jean's lawyer, worked at Paul Weiss Rifkin, Wharton and Garrison. That was in Midtown, 1992 to 2016. She was there for quite some time. Then she became a founding partner at her own law firm, Kaplan, Heckler, and Fink. That's according to her own bio page. So that's Roberta's bio. Now, Alina said, this is news to us. We're going to include this in our appeal, and we're going to take appropriate measures. The fact it wasn't disclosed is an ethics violation. Now, during her early years at Paul Weiss, Roberta Kaplan, E. Jean's lawyer, she worked as an associate of the firm at the same time as Judge Kaplan, who was a partner there until 1994 when he was appointed to the bench by Bill. So Zach Sawyer, a representative for Roberta Kaplan, responded. Okay, so Kaplan's people responded. He said, quote, they overlapped for less than 2 years in the early 90s at a large law firm when he was a senior partner and she was a junior associate, and she never worked for him. So there's a lot of lawyer language in there. Okay, senior partner, that's great. You might be someone who is senior. You often work with juniors. Happens all the time. They shadow you. Okay, come with me to this hearing, come with me to this meeting, sit in with me on this phone call. In fact, the idea that they're not at the same status means that they probably had a higher propensity to work together. Okay, two senior partners aren't going to work with each other in a lot of things. Maybe they work on a big case, a couple of them work together, team up on a big case. But more likely, what I think you'd see is a senior partner working with a junior associate to show them, hey, junior associate, work on this motion, right? I would do that all the time. Here, work on this, work on this, work on this. You bring me that, you bring me that, you bring me that. And then I'll grade those, right? Review those, red line those up, give them back, okay, and talk through them. And then the junior person who would actually work on the motion, so let's say I handed something off to Roberta Kaplan, I would bring her to come with me while we argued it. Hey, you did this work, let's go do this together. A senior and a junior work together. So that makes total sense that they would be working together, especially if the source said that she was a mentor or that Judge Kaplan was a mentor to Robbie Kaplan. But she never worked for him. Okay, so what? That doesn't matter. They may still have a personal relationship there. And if it's less than 2 years, that's a lot of time. You can really get to know someone pretty well there. But a former Paul Weiss partner who asked not to be named said all associates at the firm, like all associates, Roberta did her best to distinguish herself before her partners. Obviously, right? Which included Lewis Kaplan. The former partner, also at the firm, who's being anonymous, says the judge, Lewis Kaplan, was like her mentor. Isn't that disgusting? So a former partner to the firm said Lewis Kaplan was like Roberta Kaplan's mentor. Amazing, right? Yeah, and they share a last name, so they're like, oh, the Kaplan crew, oh, the Kaplans, ha ha ha, running around together. A special affinity since they're not related. Now, messages left with Judge Kaplan's chambers obviously were not responded to, and a representative for Paul Weiss were not returned on Saturday. There's E. Jean. Now, Trump was previously ordered to pay her $5 million, and remember, it was just a couple million for the actual assault, for the grab him by the purse situation, the old DJ Diddles. Error. You're in a situation like that, and they find that she was entitled to $2 or $3 million for that. Actually, I think it was $2 million for that, and then $3 million for the defamation. So in other words, you can DJ Diddle a woman against her will, in a Bergdorf's dressing room, and that's bad enough. But if you say something bad about her, that's much worse, according to the New York jury. $3 million for talking badly about a woman, calling her a liar, and only $2 million for the actual assault. I don't know. That's New York. But after that, then $83 million on top of that. So the DJ diddle is nothing even remotely close to the other defamation that resulted in $83 million or something. All right, anyways, so the jury found that Trump was liable for slandering her, for calling her a whack job. There's Alina again. Now, Trump said, all this is absolutely ridiculous. We're going to be appealing this. No doubt about it. This is a witch hunt. Our legal system is out of control and it's being used as a political weapon. And so we're going to see some reaction from E. Jean. She was out there hitting the media airwaves, doing her little victory party, but she is revealing everything that we already thought. First of all, that she's not well in the head, in my opinion. And number two, that she is a political tool that is being exploited by political actors. Remember, the person who told her to sue or introduced her to Roberta Kaplan was George Conway. And George Conway is a rabid anti-Trumper. I don't know, maybe because ex-wife likes Trump better than him. I don't know why, but he's very upset. And so he makes it his mission, waking up every day to go out there and do something about Trump. Just look at his X timeline. You can judge for yourself and see. It's like a mission. And they were at a party with Molly Jongfest, another TDS person, and they were apparently hanging out with E. Jean Carroll, who admitted at her trial that she went to 6 or so Trump prosecution parties. Wild. All orchestrated by lefties, by anti-Trumpers. And they call this justice in America. But all right, this is E. Jean. Now, she showed up on this show and she was talking about this, saying, what are you going to do with the $83 million? And here is Roberta Kaplan just licking her lips, salivating over that money. And my question still is, did George Conway get a referral fee on that $83 million? Did George Conway get splits on it for passing the referral off to Roberta? Don't know. We'll have to see. But this is what E. Jean said when she was doing her rounds.
The elation was so great on Friday. It filled me up. It was almost painful. It's taken really every day. Today, I'm just very happy because I'm calm enough to realize what she did.
It's been reported that you exchanged smiles with the jurors on the way out. Is that true?
Yes.
What was that like?
Nice question, George Stephanopoulos. Did you smile at the jurors? Gosh, he's just as bad as all of them.
Well, it was very moving. It made me burst into tears because they met my eyes for the first time. It's very moving.
You said you want to do great things with this $83 million settlement. Give us an idea about that.
Don't want to waste money. Well, I do have an idea. I'd like to give the money to something Donald Trump hates.
Nice.
If it will cause him pain for me to give money to certain things, that's my intent.
What a nice lady, huh? What a person with a nice heart out there that just wants to recover, you know? You think that you've been tragically abused, you just want to recover, you just want to move on, you just want compensation, you want the worst ordeal of your life to be put behind you so you can get back on track, right? Or is it you're just now a political tool that is going to be used by the Democrats to go out there and continue this gigantic facade of being a victim of abuse?
Well, perhaps a fund for the women who have been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump.
Yeah. Notice how she changed that word. Remember, she used to say the R word? She doesn't say that anymore. Isn't that curious? I was R'd by Trump. No, you were not. The jury found that you were not. A judge twisted himself into a pretzel to say, well, there was digital penetration, and so I think that's R and that's R. Close enough kind of a thing. But no. Why did they disambiguate the two charges? An assault charge is not R. That's why they're separate. So the judge kind of made them the same, but they're not. Now, she's not using that because the jury found that she was not credible. In my opinion, the jury said she's lying about that. Lying about being R'd. They said no. They checked the box. No. Judge didn't tell the new jury about that. The judge didn't say anything about her credibility being lacking as to that charge. All of it was forgotten about. And she changed it because Roberta Kaplan says, actually, no, he didn't R you, according to the jury verdict. So even she's given her a little bit of guidance on that. Change your language. And did you notice her body language? Watch Roberta here as she says that. I kind of noticed something. Yeah, kind of felt like she was like, maybe I don't like that answer a whole lot. Because it's not supposed to be about vindictiveness. Is she a victim or is she a political tool? Somebody who is now on a war against Trump. It kind of feels like she's been on a war against Trump the entire time because she's not well in the head. Now, we've got more from her. This is where she makes it fully known that she's going to be doing anything that she can to stop Trump, which I guess is going to be continuing this facade. Here is what Tom S. Elliott clipped over for us on the X platform. And this is E. Jean making the waves.
When you've actually faced the man, he's just a man with no clothes on. It's the people around around him that are giving him the power. What do you mean by that?
Well, Hans Christian Andersen's great fairy tale, The Emperor Has No Clothes, that is written about Donald Trump. It's just we're the ones who clothe him in all this power. He has none himself. It's his followers. It's his hangers-on. In the court, they were strutting back and forth and handing him messages. Right, Robbie?
Ms. Carroll, you say he's nothing. You say the emperor has no clothes. The emperor is trying to run for president again.
And right now is leading.
And right now, the polls suggest it's a coin flip. It's very
Good.
close.
Yeah, good.
Have you heard
Keep going that way.
from Joe Biden's campaign arm about potentially campaigning against the former president Donald Trump?
No.
Are you interested in doing so?
Do anything I can.
That's a yes.
What was it?
Do anything I can. Now, you could say, well, if a victim of abuse got actually victimized, you might say, yeah, you want to do everything you can to keep him out of power. And I can understand that, but I can also understand our perspective on this. This is a 30-plus-year-old case, and we have a lot of questions about the integrity of the proceedings here, all preponderance of the evidence, and the court kept out a ton of evidence about how this woman actually thinks and what her history actually looks like. That could have been very useful to the jury if they would have seen it. But no, they're going to get her, this is the goal, get her labeled, get a big fat whopping verdict from a New York jury, and then use that label throughout the rest of the election. Okay, now she's going to be all over the place. We're going to be E. Carroll to death after this woman makes the waves in 2024, which of course she will. Now the Biden people are pretty happy about this. Every time Trump gets hit, for some reason they think it benefits them. To me, it feels like they're biting off a little bit more they can chew. Jake Tapper poses the same question. He says, to Senator Chris Coons, he is apparently the Biden campaign co-chair, so he's working hand in hand with Joe. He says, the juries are coming out and they're hitting Trump. People are going to be real happy with the fact that this dude who actually built buildings in New York is going to be hit with an $83 million verdict for a defamation claim. Defamation for a unwell woman almost 30 years ago, which has no witnesses, and she had a hard time remembering the date.
Over the course of the campaign as a political matter, we have seen how legal cases against Donald Trump boost his support. Ron DeSantis, before he dropped out, expressed dismay that all the court cases happened. He seemed to be suggesting that maybe he would have had more traction if the Republican body politic hadn't rallied around him because of all these cases. Are you at all concerned that that might have a similar effect with independent voters or people who are trying to decide between Trump and Biden? They might see this as all unfair.
Well, Jake, that is certainly what seems to be the response of the deep believers, true core MAGA crowd, that they buy what Donald Trump is selling, that this is all just a witch hunt, and that somehow...
We don't buy what you're selling, my man. The burden is on you guys to prove your claims, and we don't buy what you're selling. Trump is just defending himself. You guys are the ones who are initiating the 4 indictments, the ballot removals, the Tishy-lay-Tish prosecutions, and on.
In going after him for his misconduct, they're really going after his core supporters. But the results of the recent New Hampshire primary suggest that there's a lot of independents and persuadable Republicans who preferred Nikki Haley over Donald Trump for exactly this sort of reason, and who in exit polls said that if Trump is convicted in a court of law on any of the many charges that he faces, that will contribute to this critical persuadable group concluding that he's unfit to serve as president.
So that's the goal, right? They want the courts to cause some people to come to a conclusion. Like the DOJ still has enough credibility that some independents in America are going to go, oh, well, see, Trump has been indicted. He's got 90-something felonies. Is anybody going to care anymore by the time this all hits? I'm not so sure. Here is Tim Parlatore, a former Trump attorney who is joining CNN to talk about some of this. And here's the question from Caitlin.
Carroll, do you believe he accepts this?
I don't. I mean, obviously, by standing up and walking out in the middle of it, I think he was kind of making his opinion known. But, both of these trials, they came to results that he certainly doesn't like. I think that they probably are, could have turned out differently, perhaps. But no, I don't think he's going to accept it.
I mean, you represented him. How do you think he is reacting tonight to an $83.3 million verdict from a jury, not from a judge or Democrat?
A great question there, Caitlin. He's very happy. He's having a nice steak dinner tonight.
Or President Biden, whatever he says. This is from a jury.
A jury that was rigged. He had no defense he could present at all. The judge didn't let him say or do anything. In fact, when he was going to testify, the judge was basically checking Alina's questions and checking his answers. This was not a trial.
It is. And the crazy thing that he's probably thinking about is they awarded $5 million, for the actual alleged assault, or, when they found the assault.
The DJ Diddles.
And then several magnitudes more for talking about it. So I think that's probably something that's probably going through his head.
Yeah, Caitlin, are you rectifying identifying those two bizarre situations?
Right now is the kind of disparity between the first verdict and the second verdict. And when you listen to some of the things Alina Habba says about how they were stripped of the defenses, I mean, that's right, because of the first trial. Yeah, had they had a different verdict in the first trial, they might have had a different set of circumstances for the second trial, but once you've tried a case, you're stuck with that conclusion.
It was the same, it was the same limitations in the first trial, which we covered here.
Court that she didn't regret representing Trump, but I mean, you know both of them. Do you think it's the other way around, that he regrets having represented him in this?
You know, I don't know. I mean, certainly, you know, from my perspective, I would regret having her represent him. I mean, I do think that in both of these trials, he was essentially undefended, and I think that it could have turned out differently. I mean, in the second trial, unfortunately, because of the way the first trial went, I don't think anybody could have won the second trial.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, once the issues were set up from first trial, second trial was a loser from the beginning. The question is how big of a loser? And this goes back to, you know, a jury is going to come up with a number, and you have to put on the best presentation to them to get them to come to a lower number. And so all of these, you know, things that she did throughout the process,
is there anything she could have done
at all?
Well, what about him?
That's also a matter of, in the courtroom, the attorney is the one who should be telling the client, you know, how to act, what to be doing, and everything else.
All right, I get so tired of these people acting like this is a real court where there is an actual legitimate process happening. We're watching Judge Kaplan hanging out with his prior mentee, Roberta. He's like, hey, good to see you again. How's your practice going? Oh yeah, you're here against Trump. Good, I hate him too. It's a sham. It's not anything that resembles actual justice. And so for these two people to play patty cake over it, like, well, you know, acting like it's a real game, it's not. This is, my friends, something that is going to continue to happen. We are going to be waiting for Trump's appeal. Alina Habba said that the appeal will be coming soon, and we'll be looking forward to see what that looks like as we cover it and carry on. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching us. Thank you for joining us at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, which is our members-only community. We do after parties there. We do morning streams where we stream 6 days a week in the mornings, including on Saturdays. We talk about a lot of other fun stuff, so come check us out. Links are in the description below. And my friends, we're going to be here covering the appeals, the rest of the Trump sagas in New York, out of the Southern District, out of Engoron's courtroom. We hope you join us as we do. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one.